So very warm welcome also to this 50-minute session about eBam. So my name is Sebastian Niemeyer. I'm responsible at Swift for the corporate business for Central and Eastern Europe. And I'm trying to bring Swift a little bit more close to the corporate and try to gather all the needs and requirements a corporate does have in terms of bank communication. As you might see, a corporate is a little bit acting differently than a financial institution. There's really hard lessons we had to learn at Swift, and this is of course one of my major objectives to make this happen. And today I do have the honor to talk about the revolution of eBam, just to say, or to demystify if it's really a matter of fact that you have to dust off your eBam proposal and where we do stand in terms of eBam so far, or do we stand anywhere in terms of BAM or whatsoever. So, but before I start to discuss with you all the nitty-gritty details of the standards we might have around eBam, I just want to take you back to a journey and to just think for yourself, okay, every big project I've run in the past so far, does it really start with a big bang? Of course not. And it's a little bit the same with bank account management. So no big project will ever start with a big bang, or let's say will never start with a big bam in this scenario. But if you now adding a really small letter to BAM, to bank account management, which is the E, then it really makes a difference. And then we're not talking about the evolution anymore, because for me then we're talking about a revolution. And this makes it quite complex to achieve what we do call eBam. There are a lot of rumors ongoing about eBam. What is eBam all about? Is it about KYC? Is it about opening accounts, closing accounts, getting audit reports or whatsoever? And to be honest, eBam is what you're making out of it. So eBam will never be presented to you on a silver plate, just to grab it off. So eBam is really what you're making out of it. So, if you are now going back a little bit in history, I mean, all of you sitting here and listening to my voice, you would imagine that STP, payments processing, it's a natural given fact that we do talk about automated workflows, that we have achieved STP. There was never a time before. It was always STP, but this is not the truth. So once you're getting back in time, 10 years maybe from now, you might remember the fact that you had to transport your payment instructions via telex, faxes and whatsoever. And this is a little bit the same with bank account management. So we are not nowhere. We are right about to start with having an evolution here in terms of messaging, in terms of automation also for the bank account management. So let's have a look. In 1980s, we started with paper-based exchange of payment instructions, for instance. For the bank account management, it was a little bit the same. So we're starting at paper, and now looking into the payment space, we are moving on to file-based transfer of payment messages. BAM is still paper-based. In the as of 2000, we moved in the payment space to the internet protocol, of course, and nowadays everybody is used to electronic banking, right? For BAM, bank account management, still a little bit paper-based. What? As of 2005, we were discovering this space, and we said, okay, there's a need for standardization because payments, it's more or less a done deal. So the community really required to have more efficiency, to have STP, talking about margins, talking about risk, talking about liquidity moves. But for BAM, we also had to close the gap. And this is what has happened so far. So looking forward to 2010 and following, we're really looking forward to have an integrated workflow, which is already the reality for the payment space, but now also for the bank account management. You might ask yourself, okay, why is the guy from Swift standing on stage and talking to me about BAM or eBam? But as you might know, Swift is a standardization initiative, and this is our role since the beginning of our existing, since 1973. So we are always looking into the fact how we can automate process, how we can automate workflows, and of course we are doing the same for the bank account management. So that means in 2008, we started to draft some kind of message standards based on ISO 2022 to be used for eBam and to transport all the necessary details to open account, to close an account, to request an audit report, which kind of accounts are you running globally, for instance. And we moved this one into the pilot phase as of 2009. And guess what? As of 2010, eBam is already reality, at least in terms of standards. So the standards, ISO 2022 based, they are there to be used. But then it flattened a little bit. So we did our job, so the standards are there, they are available, but nobody was really picking up on these standards. And the question was, why is this the case? What's happening here? And we discovered then that the standards we developed so far are quite rich. So you can transport every kind of information you might need to transport by facing all these regulatory demands of the different countries, for instance, of the financial institutions, the dialect the financial institutions are talking about. So all these is covered in the ISO 2022, but maybe it's a little bit too complex. And this, of course, is the case. So we have now seen that there is a number of banks talking to a number of corporates. They did found a team which is called GREAT. So the Global Rapid eBam Adoption Team. And they are really looking into the standards to streamline, to harmonize the standards even more closely, to make them really be useful for the community, to make them more easy to be adopted, more easy to be used, right? So because we are not just talking about standards, we are also talking about the fact, what kind of information do you really need to report? And this makes it quite a little bit difficult. So first, to be clear, what is eBam? What's the scope of eBam? So of course, eBam is no KYC. So I know that there are a lot of rumors out there that once eBam is there, you're just pressing one button and you're opening an account in a country where you've never been, with a bank you've never banked with. Of course, this is not what will happen with eBam. So no KYC is there. But eBam is, of course, focusing on the opening of accounts for an existing account relationship or bank relationship you already do have. Is a closure of accounts. Auditor request should be, of course, possible by using eBam. The maintenance of accounts and the harmonization of these kind of standards and processes. And guess what? It will be really a win-win situation. So we are not really talking about something only the corporate is interested to see. But you have also to keep to take into account and to keep in mind that also the financial institutions are really not keen to work on paper staples like this just to open an account or whatsoever. And this is why it's a nature-given fact that they are also interested in driving this forward. So it's a little bit of a chicken and egg still. So this means the corporate is waiting for the financial institution, for the majority of financial institutions to be ready for eBam. And the financial institutions are waiting for the majority of corporates to ask for eBam. So this is quite difficult to overcome this kind of hurdle. But some of the financial institutions, they have now really started to invest into these projects. So they have really invested a bunch of money to make this happen, at least to offer some kind of solutions here, right? And a couple of days ago, to be precise, 2 weeks ago, I was honored to manage an industry forum, which is all about eBam, which was driven by Citibank, by JP Morgan, and by Deutsche Bank. And they, of course, were showing their capabilities in terms of eBam. So there is something ongoing. So we do have now the great. So all you need to take away from the session is that eBam is great. So we do have this. We do have the standards. So we do have now banks moving into this direction, investing money into the solution to make this happen. But be aware, eBam is currently not plug and play. As I mentioned in the very first beginning of my speech, eBam is what you're making out of it. So I really invite you to talk to your financial institution, to ask them about their capabilities. Because, of course, today, they are also driving in two lanes. So they do have their electronic banking, their web portals for eBam to make eBam happen. But of course, they are also supporting the ISO 20022 message standard. For instance, if you're communicating via the Swift network and to pass these messages toward them. So they're a little bit trying to cover everything, but not everything is of course possible in due time. So this really means that you have to bilaterally talk to your financial institutions and to see what are they able to offer in terms of eBam. But, and this is a good news about, I think it's now really the time to talk to them, maybe also to become part of the great team somehow. So you're really invited as a corporate also to raise your voice and to talk to the financial institutions in this aspect and to tell them what are your requirements. Because every corporate is also set up a little bit in a different way. Some of you are really following a centralized model, some of you are more decentralized, so it's also not easy for the financial institution to meet all your requirements. And this is what's my main message is all about. It's quite important to make yourself being heard by the financial institutions, that they are fulfilling your needs and that they're creating a solution which is fulfilling your needs in the future. So how is eBam today? And this is just more or less a summary. Of course, the good thing is, the good news is there is an E to the BAM already available. But still, if we are looking now into the financial industry, there's a lot of different flavors how eBam is looking like. So we do have the web portals, we do have the ISO 20022 message standards, we do have the different legal requirements in the specific countries you need to fulfill, and also the financial institutions are obliged to fulfill. And also, once you do eBam with a Deutsche Bank, for instance, in the Americas, it might look slightly different for the Deutsche Bank in another country due to the legal restriction the country might have. And again, it's really the matter of fact that you have to talk to them and to sort this out. And this can only happen step by step to be really in line what you're talking about, what your requirements are, and what the financial institutions are about to offer and are ready to offer, or what are they currently developing. So my invitation is, talk about eBam. Now, I know that we are talking about eBam for ages currently, and there's a good reason for this, because eBam is really thrilling. It's really a pain in the neck, to be honest, if you look into all these paperwork which is needed to create and open accounts or whatsoever. So this would be really a revolution if we were able to have a global approach of eBam so far. But again, it's about the corporates, it's about the banks to make this happen. So eBam is on the way, and this is a good news so far. It's not arrived totally, completely, and it will never be presented on a silver plate so far, but we are really on a good track. So, I mean, in their agenda it mentions, is it time to dust off my eBam proposal? My question is, why is it dusted? Because it's still an ongoing topic, and you see development here in the market as well. And now we do have big names in terms of corporates who are participating in grades, in terms of financial institutions who are willing and who did some kind of investment already to make this happen. And this is more or less the current status about eBam. I'm really sorry that I was not able to show you this is a solution and eBam is up and running and everything is fine. But this is not the reality. But eBam, and this is, I'm fully convinced, eBam is on a very good track. And just put yourself 10 years in the past. Payments were also not STP by default. It was also some kind of evolution that needed to happen. And it's the same for eBam. But we are on a good track, and I'm looking forward to have this in reality. Thank you very much indeed.